The summer sun was glaring over the crowded shopping center when the first scream split the air. Shoppers froze mid-step, their carts rattling against uneven pavement. Phones whipped out of pockets in unison, screens raised to capture what promised to be the kind of chaos no one ever forgets. There, near the handicapped parking spaces, stood a woman in oversized sunglasses, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I don't care what the sign says. I'll park wherever I want," she shouted, throwing her arms wide as if daring anyone to challenge her. This was the moment the crowd recognized her. A Karen. Not just any Karen, but the kind who thought rules were suggestions meant for everyone else. The security guard, a young man barely out of college, approached cautiously. "Ma'am, this space is reserved. I'll have to ask you to move your car." Her laughter rang out, brittle and mocking. "Oh, please. Do you even know who I am? You think some badge on your shirt gives you the right to tell me what to do?" She leaned in close, her sunglasses flashing in the sunlight. "I pay taxes. I own this lot, in a way." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The guard shifted uncomfortably. But the Karen wasn't done. She strutted toward her SUV, A-Type T, gleaming monster of chrome and arrogance, before pulling a tape measure from her purse. "See?" she snapped, stretching it across the painted line. "The car fits. That means it's fine." The guard stammered, "Ma'am, that's not how laws work." "Laws?" she interrupted, scoffing. "Laws are for people without backbone, people who don't know how to take what they want." She pointed at the onlookers, her finger trembling with fury. "You're all sheep, filming me like I'm some spectacle." And that's when the twist came. From the far end of the lot, an elderly woman in a wheelchair rolled forward, her daughter pushing gently from behind. They had been waiting, silently watching the spectacle unfold. The crowd's chatter fell away as they approached the disputed spot. The air tightened, heavy with the kind of anticipation only real life can stage. The Karen's sunglasses slipped down her nose as she realized the space wasn't just a rule on a sign, it was meant for someone right in front of her. But instead of backing down, her chin lifted defiantly. "Not my problem," she muttered. The cameras zoomed in, recording every second. The showdown wasn't over. It was only beginning. The crowd thickened, a semicircle of witnesses orbiting the drama like moths around a flame. Every phone was raised higher now, recording not just for proof, but for spectacle. This wasn't just a parking dispute anymore. It was turning into theater. The elderly woman in the wheelchair shifted uncomfortably, her hands folded in her lap. Her daughter, trying to stay calm, spoke softly. "Ma'am, this spot is for my mother. She can't walk long distances." The Karen's voice cracked like a whip. "Then she should have stayed home. Don't make your problems mine." Her words ricocheted through the lot, pulling audible gasps from the crowd. Before anyone could respond, a low rumble cut through the noise. A patrol car pulled up, lights flashing but siren silent. The security guard nearly sighed with relief as two uniformed officers stepped out, their expressions carved from stone. The Karen's demeanor shifted instantly. She pasted on a brittle smile, tossing her hair as though she were the victim of cruel misunderstanding. "Finally, someone with authority. Officer, these people are harassing me for no reason." The taller officer raised a brow. "Ma'am, we've received multiple calls about a disturbance. Can you tell us what's going on?" "Of course," she said sweetly, pointing a manicured finger at the daughter and her mother. "They're trying to bully me out of a perfectly legal parking spot." A murmur of disbelief spread through the crowd. Phones tilted closer, recording every breath. The shorter officer crouched to the level of the elderly woman. "Ma'am, were you trying to park here?" The daughter answered firmly. "Yes, my mother has a disabled placard. We need this space. She can't make it across the lot." The officer nodded. He stood, his expression unreadable, and faced the Karen. "And do you have a placard for this vehicle?" Her jaw tensed. "No, but I don't need one. I'm only going in for a few minutes." "What difference does it make?" The taller officer folded his arms. "It makes all the difference. These spaces are protected by law. Without a placard, you cannot park here." For the first time, a flicker of unease crossed the Karen's face. She glanced around at the cameras, her performance cracking under the weight of real consequences. "This is ridiculous," she hissed, her voice sharpening again. "I pay your salaries with my taxes. You should be protecting me, not them." The officers exchanged a knowing look. The crowd leaned in, sensing the tide was about to turn. The stage was set for something bigger than a parking lot spat. This was about entitlement colliding head-on with reality. The crowd's energy shifted from uneasy silence to electric anticipation. The Karen's face flushed crimson as the officers repeated their simple demand: "Move the SUV." What should have been a short compliance turned into a battle of pride versus reason. "I'm not moving an inch," she declared, planting her hands on her hips. "Do you know how dangerous it is to walk across this parking lot with shopping bags? I'm protecting myself." The taller officer exhaled slowly. "Ma'am, this space is reserved. Refusing to comply could result in a citation." Her laugh burst out loud and shrill, echoing against the storefronts. "Citation? Go ahead! Do it! I'll sue this entire department. My brother-in-law's a lawyer, and trust me, he loves cases like this." Phones tilted closer. Someone whispered, "Here it comes." The elderly woman, still silent in her wheelchair, finally spoke in a voice soft but steady. "Young lady, kindness costs nothing. Pride, on the other hand, can cost you everything." For a split second, the words seemed to reach her. But then, like a switch flipping, the Karen erupted. She stomped toward the wheelchair, wagging a finger in the elderly woman's face. "Don't lecture me about kindness. You think just because you've got that chair, the whole world has to bend around you?" Gasps cascaded through the crowd. The daughter leapt forward, shielding her mother. "Stay away from her!" The shorter officer immediately stepped between them, voice sharp. "That's enough. Step back, ma'am." But instead of retreating, the Karen doubled down. She grabbed her oversized handbag and swung it dramatically, as if daring anyone to stop her. "This is harassment. All of you are against me because I refuse to bow to your little rules." Her voice cracked into hysteria. "Rules are chains. Laws are made to control people like sheep." The taller officer's patience snapped. "Ma'am, calm yourself or you'll be detained." Detained. The word echoed like thunder. The Karen's eyes darted wildly across the sea of cameras. Her chest heaved as she realized every second of her tantrum was being immortalized. But instead of backing down, she pulled out her phone and began filming the officers. "See this?" She shrieked into her camera. "Police brutality! I'm being attacked for exercising my rights." The irony was too much for the crowd. Laughter broke out, nervous at first, then louder, drowning her voice. The Karen spun in circles, phone in hand, screaming into the void while her SUV sat illegally parked, a gleaming symbol of her defiance. The meltdown wasn't just public. It was viral bait in the making. And the officers were about to decide how far this spectacle would go. The crowd's laughter rolled like a wave, each chuckle pushing the Karen deeper into her spiral. She whirled on them, her sunglasses slipping down her nose, eyes blazing. "Keep laughing! You'll all regret this when my lawyer destroys you in court." But her bravado rang hollow now. The officers were done playing referee. The taller one stepped forward, his voice low but commanding. "Ma'am, last chance. Move your vehicle or we'll tow it. Refuse to cooperate further, and you'll face charges." The Karen scoffed, flipping her hair dramatically. "Tow my car? Ha! You wouldn't dare." She jabbed a finger toward the SUV. "That car is worth more than your salaries combined. You lay a hand on it, and I'll own this whole department." The shorter officer didn't flinch. He raised his radio and spoke calmly. Into it. "Requesting tow truck at the North Plaza lot, handicap zone." A ripple of cheers spread through the crowd. Phones zoomed in as the Karen's confidence faltered. "No, no, no, you can't. That's theft!" she screamed, darting toward her SUV as if her sheer will could anchor it in place. The elderly woman watched quietly, her eyes filled with equal parts sadness and dignity. Her daughter whispered, "This is justice." Moments later, the rumble of a tow truck echoed across the lot. The Karen's shrieks hit a new pitch. She spread her arms wide, plastering herself against the SUV like a human shield. "You'll have to drag me off before you take my car." The taller officer sighed, motioning toward her. "Ma'am, step aside." "No!" she barked. "This is harassment. This is oppression." The crowd erupted with laughter again. Someone shouted, "Lady, it's just a parking spot." Another chimed in, "Instant karma." The phrase spread quickly, picked up by multiple voices, until the chant rang loud enough to drown even her wails. The tow truck operator, unfazed, began hooking chains beneath the SUV. The Karen's shrieks turned desperate. "Stop, you can't! That's illegal!" The officer answered coolly, "Actually, this is the law." Her face went pale, her scream cut short. She looked around, suddenly aware of the countless lenses capturing her humiliation. The internet wouldn't just see her anger, it would see her defeat. When the SUV's tires lifted off the ground, the Karen's knees buckled. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering against the pavement. The moment was cinematic, pride collapsing under the weight of reality. The crowd erupted in cheers, the chant of "Instant karma" rising like thunder. For the first time, the Karen had no words. But the story wasn't finished. The fallout would be even bigger than the meltdown itself. The SUV dangled from the tow truck's rig like a trophy, the crowd cheering louder than ever. The Karen stood frozen, her once fiery defiance smothered by the weight of humiliation. For the first time, she looked small, overwhelmed not just by the officers, but by the hundreds of phones capturing every second of her downfall. The taller officer broke the silence. "Ma'am, you're being cited for illegal parking and disorderly conduct. You'll need to come with us to complete the paperwork." Her lips parted in shock. "Cited? For this? I've done nothing wrong." The shorter officer raised a brow. "Tell that to the judge. And to the internet, because from what I can see, you're already famous." He nodded toward the sea of phones. Sure enough, the crowd had shifted from filming to uploading. Notifications buzzed, screens glowed, and within minutes, hashtags began spreading. "Sir, Karen V is the law. Say to my teeth. Sir's instant karma queen." The story was no longer confined to a parking lot. It was racing across the digital world. The daughter of the elderly woman leaned down and whispered, "See, Mom? Sometimes the world does set itself right." The elderly woman gave a soft smile. Patience and truth always outlast pride. Meanwhile, the Karen sputtered, her hands trembling as the officers escorted her toward the patrol car. "You don't understand. People will side with me. They'll see I was standing up for my rights." But even as she spoke, laughter rippled through the crowd. A teenager shouted, "Lady, you're already a meme!" The Karen's face blanched. She knew what that meant. Her meltdown wouldn't fade away. It would be looped, captioned, and immortalized forever. The patrol car door closed behind her with a heavy click. The tow truck rumbled out of the lot, her SUV swinging like a pendulum of consequence. By evening, the videos had spread to every platform. Comment sections overflowed with reactions. Outrage at her entitlement, admiration for the calm officers, sympathy for the elderly woman, and jokes that would follow the Karen for years. Clips were remixed into parodies, news outlets picked up the footage, and late-night hosts cracked jokes about the parking lot philosopher who thought laws didn't apply to her. For the elderly woman and her daughter, justice had been served in the simplest way possible, their rightful space restored. For the Karen, however, the punishment went far beyond a citation or fine. Her reputation, once shielded by arrogance, was now defined by a single phrase the internet wouldn't let her escape: instant karma. And somewhere, in countless living rooms across the country, people shook their heads, laughed, and repeated the same lesson: no one is above the law. And that's how it all went down. Proof that no matter how loud the meltdown, no one is above the law. If you enjoyed watching this instant karma unfold, don't forget to smash that like button to let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Have you ever seen a Karen moment like this in real life? And of course, for more unbelievable showdowns, wild meltdowns, and instant justice caught on camera. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss the chaos when Karens go wild.